What's up, guys? Welcome to the show. Today we're going to talk about value. I think that most men and boys, they 100%, they need to be valued. You hear it a lot across all spectrums, whether it's social media, news, everybody's trying to downplay how valuable men need to feel. And in order for a man to feel valuable, they need to do valuable shit. That's just the real truth about it. I think that most men and boys feel an uneasiness inside of them. And what I mean by that is I think that most men and boys at all times want to do good and be applauded for it. They want to do hard shit at all times. A great example I can give for that, my wife and I, we have a 6-year-old son. He had a soccer game this weekend. Little kid's a baller. There's a bunch of ballers out there. But every time he made a good play, he's looking over there at us. And he wants a thumbs up. He wants to be told he's doing a great job, and that just makes him work harder. And I think that as men get older, they lose that, maybe mistakes, failures, whatever. But that still does not mean that they don't bring value. I just think that a man can get to the point where he stops bringing value because he's not getting a thumbs up. And I think it's terrible, and I think it's not talked about enough. And you know, I'm not a therapist or anything like that, but I think that for me personally, if my wife and the people that my employees, if I feel like that they appreciate the value that I'm bringing to my business, to their life, I tell you, I would walk through a goddamn firestorm to get that feeling again. And I think that that's what is missing a lot. And I'll say this little aside. My niche is investing, whether it's investing in real estate, investing in investments or whatever. But what's not talked about is if a man is disappointed in himself and the value that he is not bringing, then he is not going to invest in shit. He ain't going to do anything. He will sit idle until a better day comes that makes him feel like that he just wants to do it. And that day may never come, and we're going to get into that. So a little bit about me. My name is Gus Robertson. My focus, my niche in this world, in my career, in my businesses is financial, from investing to whether it's retirement goals or short-term goals to insurance, mostly property and casualty, and real estate. I think they're all brothers. They all tie into each other. But again, I just don't think the more conversations that I have with my clients and my employees, whenever I start asking them specific questions about what their goals are, I just think it's almost impossible to have a goal if you are disappointed in the value that you bring. It's impossible. We're gonna get into that today. So this past week, I hired 2 new employees, and they went through the interview process, and I'll kind of explain about that in just a minute. But I did have one employee ask me this. And it kind of shocked me that he even asked me this so close into the interview process. But he said, how do you invest in yourself and in turn invest in your future if you are constantly disappointed or don't feel like you bring value? I mean, that's huge, man. For this dude to be hired in the first, or to be interviewed in the first week, and we're talking about a 35-year-old man with a wife, 2 kids, and that's asking me that question. I put a lot of thought into that one. As much as I detest talking about myself, it seems that the only way that sometimes you can connect with people is to sometimes talk about the failures that you've had. And I've got a laundry list of left turns. Starting from an early age, I grew up on a farm, a family farm. My dad, my uncle, and my grandfather started it, and you have a lot of left turns in a business like that. I mean, everything is totally dependent upon, you know, economics, political, weather, 7 days a week. You never can set it down. There are no breaks. And that's how I grew up. It was chaotic. It was, everything's a problem. There's no breaks. So, you know, my understanding of how people don't put effort in, because the way that I was raised, if you planted the crop and you didn't harvest it, you didn't get paid. And that is, that's how I approach my whole life. And even though I tried to deny that at times, it is absolutely true. My life on a farm was not easy. I was born when both my mom and dad were 20. Can you imagine 20 years old? My oldest daughter is 20. Seeing her with a kid right now, I mean, it would be terrible. I just couldn't even imagine how my mom and dad felt knowing that they had a child on the way. And this was in the 70s, when not being married was not like it is today. I was born in 75, and just think about that. Think about how like hard that was for them. My mom left when I was 4 and moved to California. I mean, how much, it's always been a struggle for me, but how much further can a parent move away from a kid? And just imagine how that is for a 4-year-old. I mean, and there's a lot of people that have these issues, moms and dads that just aren't in a boys and girls life, and just imagine the effect that had on me as a kid. And unfortunately, my dad remarried a lady whenever I was 5, and no matter how I tried to identify with that, with that being her being put in a tough situation, it was terrible for me. The lady that he married was abusive mentally, physically, psychologically, and it was a terrible time for me. It affected me my whole life. But I do think that there was a balance there, meaning that everything that I was raised on a farm, just like overcoming obstacles, did help me in a way to get past that, even though there's a lot of negativity behind it. But needless to say, I did not come from a great home life. I was very chaotic. I was never a great student. I did terrible in high school, did terrible in college. I still don't have any idea how I made it through college. I don't even know how I got in. I have zero idea how I got into college. Somebody must have pulled some strings. And college was even terrible. You hear a lot today about people going to college or not going to college. I was the picture of a dude that should not have gone to college. But I'm glad I did, or they shouldn't have let me into college. And what I mean by that is I had no direction, I had no value. I was just basically just dropped off one day at the front doorsteps of North Carolina State University with no plan, no skills, no nothing that I knew of at that time. And so I'm nothing special. I guess that's what I'm trying to say. At that point in my life, I was nothing special. I just had an overwhelming sense of I could just get through anything. The one thing about whenever I was younger, I do know this. I was very rebellious, and I was almost feral in the way that I looked at things. I got in trouble a lot. I got in trouble in high school, elementary school, college. It's just I just didn't understand how important working well with others was, and because I just didn't know how to do it. I hate to really talk about this, but I've had to write many letters in my life to most financial institutions I was trying to get contracted with, because I've been in trouble with the authorities whenever I was younger, not as like an adult. And I never really understood how to see the value in what other people brought to my life, as well as, again, the point of this whole topic is seeing value in yourself. Probably didn't even see value in what I brought to the table until my oldest daughter was born. So I was 28 whenever she was born. And at that point in time is whenever I really started to notice what I was doing to kind of destroy my ability to bring great things to the world. So the point behind this is every man's got a story. A man that's had some failures and has overcome those failures is kind of who I identify with. And I think a lot of men identify with that type of mentality. It's just that the issue is that you don't get past it. You sit there in your misery and you think that that's all that you have is that's the end of your story. So I think that all men have this inside of them. I think it's just automatic. I think that every man has this want and this ability inside of them, that it may be hidden, it may be squashed by whether it was your parents, whether it was society, a job, unfortunately maybe past relationships just try to push that down. I had this girlfriend one time. She says, "Oh, well, all you do is copy other people." And I was like, "Well, everybody copies everybody else to then take what they learned and take it further." So that's the whole point of bringing value to the world, is so other people can take it and then put it in their own lives and bring value. Without me even knowing this, the things that I went through and the hardships that I went through, I figured out what my superpower was. And I think that that's what every man's goal is to figure out what your superpower is. And mine was, I don't dwell too much on the past. I move forward almost like it didn't even happen. So I don't know if that's a superpower or if that's like something that I can't just admit to myself, but I can move forward very quickly. And I think with that type of ability, you just don't have quit inside of you. And there's really, as a man, there's only two things that bring value to a person. And neither one of these have anything to do with money. Money is a byproduct of value. Number one, you got to do hard stuff. You have to do hard stuff to build competency and confidence. And one cannot be there without you. False confidence just means that you ain't done shit to be competent. Incompetent, you have failure and you get over it, and that brings confidence. And the other thing is teamwork. Teamwork is not valued today. But here's a little side note whenever you're talking about teamwork. Think about this. Every kid that's on my son's team is different. They come from different backgrounds. They have all sorts of just different heights, different weights, different everything. But they all play together for one common goal. And most kids teams, whether it's high school or the military, they don't care where you come from, especially in like life or death situations. They all work together, and again, that they're all working together to bring value. All of us parents, we take our kids to play on teams, all different backgrounds, and yet they work together. But then and they work hard. And they win together, they lose together, but yet as adults, we don't do that. Yeah, so we forget about how important it is to be on a team. This is why, as adults, one of the two things I really focus on is why being on a team is so important. When I hire new employees, and so this is a little background on how I hire new employees. About 5 years ago, I went through a course that really focused on core values, non-negotiables, and it changed the way that I totally looked at things and saw it as a trickle down, meaning if leadership is right and my values are right, then I will hire people that at least have core values and can be brought up where they see themselves as valuable. So in my practice, we preach team, we preach core values, we preach non-negotiables. We talk weekly about being a good entrepreneur. So that word's kind of missed sometimes. Everybody wants to be an entrepreneur. They don't even know what it means. But an entrepreneur is, whether or not you're an employee or you work for a company, being an entrepreneur means you believe in what you're doing. You bring value to that company, and you just believe in yourself, and you believe in what your company is promoting or selling. And that is one of the things. If you can't do that in my company, then you don't get hired. And so that's just a non-negotiable for me. We talk about core values like integrity, honor, discipline, and what those mean. And I think that, it's very difficult for me to not say what I'm about to say. Have I always lived up to that? No, I have failed at that many times. But once I really understood how important it was, I've tried to incorporate it in every part of my life, and I still fail. But I do understand how important it is, and I try to, again, be a part of a team, which is why it's important. My practice, every employee here is a part of a team. And that way they can hold me accountable, and I can hold them accountable. And so when you talk about these things, especially in a corporate environment, the accountability aspect of it is almost as important as just the value itself. I think that these words like integrity, honor, discipline, consistency, non-negotiables, entrepreneur, all of those things, they're not talked about enough. And I don't believe that people are really taught what those words actually mean. You may hear them in church, in the military, or maybe you are lucky enough to have been on a great team with a great coach that fed into you. But for the average everyday person that I hope this video reaches, that is just walking around. These words are never spoken. Especially in today's world where you have a ton of kids that just sit behind a screen, they're watching too much TV, they're playing video games, and adults too. It's now become almost a second gen where it's like these kids have parents, and so what are the dads doing? And I think that is that's a huge thing where a lot of people don't even understand how important teamwork is and being a link in a chain. So before I hire somebody, this is what I do. I ask them one simple question. And this is kind of like a do or die question. So I ask the question, who is the most important person in your life? The person you have to protect the most and hold on high. And it's kind of like that just baffles a lot of people. But and I get all sorts of answers, whether it's your husband, your wife, your kids. For those people, unfortunately, it's a weeder question. And for the few that get close to the answer, we move forward. But you'd be very surprised on the questions that I get. A lot of people with some calls. The number one person that's in your life is you. It's kind of like, if you're lucky enough to be married or be in a relationship and you have children, and if you are not bringing value to yourself as well as looking after your health and your wealth and at least evolving to get to that point, how can you teach other people? And that's what's being missed right now, is that it's impossible. You cannot do that. It is, I find it virtually non-existent in a house where I'm meeting with a client, where if the dad is not bringing value to himself and holds himself at a higher, I don't know, just a want to learn, that it's impossible for it to trickle down to his wife and kids. And unfortunately, there's a lot of that going on today. Why do I ask my employees about who is the most important person in their life? And it's a simple answer. If they cannot say that they are the most important person in their life and the most important person that they're trying to make better and evolve into that value-added person, I don't need them. You cannot make somebody understand value. They have to feel it inside of them. And the whole world is trying to make everybody valuable. And unfortunately, if you don't see yourself as valuable, you will not see the value of investing in yourself and investing in your future. And again, whether that's money or just making yourself better, it's impossible. You got to feel it inside of yourself. So guys, I'm going to leave you with this. If you feel that you have this drive inside of you, even if it's just a little bit, then join a team. Do some hard shit. Be a good teammate. Take that little piece of drive and just make it grow. That's all you got to do. And I promise you, when you do that, you will find value and it will grow. So I appreciate you guys joining us. Later.